Hey there, and welcome to another episode of The Signal, where we teach you how to win in high stakes, government shaped markets. You might be thinking right now that sales are flat, worse than last year, markets are down, and everybody's trying to blame the economy. The fact is, the government knows this. Whether it's your local, state, provincial, or federal government, they know what's going on and they're making moves. They're doing a whole bunch of different programs, whether it comes from tax incentives, government grants, and a whole bunch of different regulations that are changing that are designed to kickstart the economy through your business. Let's talk right now about funding and tax incentives. These are typically responses that government enacts during downturns to make sure that the economy is still rolling and moving. It not only is for the economic benefit, but it's also to encourage business investment. Now, I totally understand. Right now, you're looking at the stock market and going, it's not really down. Investors are making a ton of money, making huge leaps and bets on AI and all the oil and all the things that are surrounding those incredible industries. But is that ending up downstream? Is that ending up in your business? Is it still helping you or is it hurting you? When you look at the programs that I'm talking about, these incentives, they work because when money moves, people make more money. And a lot of the programs that I've seen while tracking signals for clients are designed to actually stimulate sectors of the economy that aren't necessarily showing up huge in the stock market. One example would be I was tracking council votes and news cycles for the automotive industry, and I came across a thing called Section 179. This is in the federal tax code of the US. Disclaimer, I am not a tax accountant. I don't know much about taxes myself, but this is something I came across in my research. So please don't take tax advice. Talk to your experts and your professionals. When looking at Section 179, it includes a factor that is 100% write-offs for eligible equipment. Now, this can typically be industrial equipment and vehicles, what have you, and it allows a kind of next level version of tax incentive where they can make personal investments or large commercial investments without having to write it off over years or whatever. Some of the equipment eligible can be written off in 1 year at one time. One auto dealership actually used this incentive to stimulate purchases of its commercial vans that it sells. It's a luxury car brand that had both regular cars, vehicles, SUVs, that kind of stuff. And then they also have an entire division dedicated to commercial vans. So leveraging Section 179 as the foundation for their campaign, they were able to 5x their sales in a really short time. Incredible results, incredible campaign, and they are geniuses for even thinking of this type of thing. Another example would be I was tracking the Canadian healthcare industry. I think you've probably heard the story of the girl from Broken Toe, and et cetera, et cetera. But while I was tracking the healthcare industry and I was looking at what priorities are being set by the health authorities across Canada, and 2 of the top 5 priorities showed up everywhere in every health authority across Canada, federal government. And one of the key things that I've noticed is that not only are they changing laws, they're voting on specific things that change how healthcare needs to be done, but they're also providing funding. So specific funding within each province across Canada, specific funding from third-party sources to build innovations that improve healthcare for everybody. And these are on top of already great, amazing programs that are available by the federal and provincial governments right now. So things like IRAP in Canada and other ones that are local. So that's the funding style. The third thing that we're looking at here are policy mandates. So think about electric car rebates. There was a big fluff that happened in major news media in the US where the big beautiful bill removed some of the tax incentives for buying an electric vehicle. But those programs survived a long time and they led to a significant adoption of electric cars across not only the US, but in Canada and the rest around the world. There's other ones, so more of an industrial aspect. Look at building codes. Every single year, there are new building codes that are designed to make things safer and more durable for long term. So for the end user, for the people that serve the properties, the people that manage properties, the idea is that leveraging newer technologies and newer methods of building and putting those into codes are meant to provide a much better output for everybody. There's sunsetting toxic or unsafe technology. Just think leaded gas. Whoever gets leaded gas. Well, these were types of things, again, for safety that also end up improving business. But if you're a business that sells solutions, like if you were a fuel company that sold unleaded gas when leaded gas was illegal, then guess what? You're jumping the market, you're leapfrogging everybody, and you're growing like crazy. The goal here is think about these three types. There's tax incentives, there's funding, and there's regulatory changes that could significantly impact your flat sales and get you leapfrogging the competition. What I recommend is tracking changes relevant to your industry and make changes to match. So you want to make changes in the way you go to market and the way you position yourself to match those incentives so that your buyers look at you as the invaluable resource. And you need to act fast. So this is the key. If you want to get ahead of that growth curve, you need to act fast, faster than the next person. If you want to know how fast you have to go, faster than your competition, faster than other people in the industry, because you want to be first so that you get the benefits of being the first to bring that to your buyers. So how do you do it? Well, here's a practical tip you can do today to get this kickstarted and start finding some offers that are related to these three types of incentives that will skyrocket your sales. Pick one buyer segment. I always use one buyer segment. You've probably heard me say this a lot, because if you pick a whole bunch of buyer segments, it gets really confusing and it's hard to track your progress. So you pick one buyer segment, you research the government websites that are related to that segment. If you're a flood mitigation company, you're selling into high-risk flood zones, look for government websites that are local to those flood zones that you're paying attention to. Look at programs that are on those government websites and look at anything that was launched in the last 6 months or is being considered to be launching. Being considered to be launching is things like it might show up in your local news feeds that says, the government of such and such county is going to launch this incentive program. There might be mandates and firm dates on government websites that say on June 1st, 2026, this is going to be a new change. Look for those and track those dates. Then what I want you to do is look for any details. Usually these types of policy changes come with their own, at the very least, a document or a web page, a microsite. Some are so huge that they have their own site. Grab the details and save them into a PDF file, pop them into your favorite AI tool, and ask it, how does this relate to whatever you sell? So in the case, if I'm selling vehicles that include commercial, how does this change relate to commercial vehicle sales? And let it tell you actually all of the relevant details you need to know. That's going to feed your campaign. The next thing you want to do is build a targeted campaign based around this offer. This is one solid offer. In the case of the auto dealership that I told you about, it was very simply leverage that tax incentive, let their buyers know, any buyers that are in the funnel or in their market, in their target list, let them know that this incentive exists and that they sell products that are eligible. Build clear value. Make it very clear that how that particular mandate, funding, tax incentive, what have you, change, how does that impact the buyer? Make it crystal clear so that they can put two and two together and they can talk to their accountant, lawyers, whoever else they need to in order to make that purchase make sense, be fiscally responsible. And then make sure it's time limited. Most of these programs aren't forever programs. Tax incentives, funding programs, they all have firm deadlines for when the funding is completely dispersed and there's no more funding left. There's also backdated from that, there's submission deadlines for you to be able to get the funding before the end. You have to submit your application and make your eligible purchase well before that. Now, I'm talking in a little bit of a wide scope here. I'm not giving you as much specifics because there are so many of these programs that would just be too much for you and it's too much for me to even share. But I can tell you that this exists in every single government program you can think of. The same timeline exists. This is literally how we built Signals. So I think I know a little bit of what I'm talking about here. Now that you have your offer, you're building incredible value. It's crystal clear. Your messaging is great. Now you have to execute with authority. You need to know that you are the first person talking to them that knows every single thing there is to know about that particular incentive and how it relates to them building value. They are getting incredible value. And you need to have that conviction knowing that you're providing that to them in a way that your competitors aren't. When we are doing this regularly and we're doing quarterly planning that's backed by research, that's backed by mandates and backed by things with firm guidelines, you're consistently bringing value to your buyers. Even if they're not going to take advantage of that specific offer, they know you are the invaluable resource that continues to give them the information that they need. You also have new, fresh reasons to reach out. Instead of just having the same old tired, hey, would you like to buy a car? Hey, would you like to buy some industrial equipment? Hey, would you like to rent this? Sales offers get old, they get stale. Fresh, new content, you stand out amongst the crowd. And not only do you become an invaluable resource, but you also become a little bit of an entertainment for that buyer. And with the TikTok generation, that is becoming more and more important every day. And like I said, by doing this, you just become that invaluable resource. You become what they need to run their business more smooth. Who doesn't like that, right? So let's recap. 2026 is projected to be softer than 2025. Now, again, ignore the stock market, which seems completely immune to anything that's happening on the ground. But there are massive global events. There's wars, there's political upheaval. All of these major events are making investment hard. It's making it difficult for people to invest in physical things that are highly regulated and localized. By aligning with government policy for your go-to-market strategy and the way that you project and your offers to your customers, this is going to soften the blow. It makes it easy for you to align with the programs that are built by incredibly smart people in order to stimulate the economy and level out those dipping sales numbers. Okay. And doing this consistently, you will come out on top. You might learn a thing or two at the same time. You might have heard this before, but I'll say it again. Some of the strongest companies in the world have started during recessions. Recession is not necessarily where we're at right now, but we are in tough times that mirror recession-like qualities. If you act like a company that started in those times and find ways to be ahead of the curve at every single moment, no matter how good or bad things look for you at the moment, you'll become that strongest company possible. Okay, I challenge you. What incentives are relevant for you and your business? Start now, look it up, research your local government, and let me know what you find.